Alright everybody, we're back this time for the prop special for UFC Vegas 92, Barboza versus Murphy. I haven't done one of these betting tip videos in a long time, and obviously my main betting tips, the way you get access to my top 4 favorite plays, is going to be via the link for my Patreon in the description of this video for only $10 a month. It was originally $20, I dropped it down to $10 just to get more backers and get more supporters. So for $10 a month, you can have access to about 16 bets a month, which, you know, equates to less than $1 per bet, you know, in the grand scheme of things. So make sure to subscribe to the Patreon via the link in the description for, like I said, only $10 a month. And let's kick it off with the first bet up, and that is going to be Haley Alateng. Or Alatong Haley, however you want to say his name. So I really like him against Clayson Rodriguez. I broke down the fight on my preview and predictions for this card, but I think the first round and a half, is where Alateng's going to be in the most danger. But I feel like the style of Haley Alateng is a style that can take advantage of a Rodriguez that will slow down in the second and in the third round. I'm not banking on a finish. If there is a finish, I would actually think it probably comes from the Rodriguez side, being able to clip Alateng with a big kick to the body, a spinning back kick, or clip him with a big shot up top and hurt him. But to be honest, I kind of see this fight touching the scorecards, and I could also see a late TKO from Alateng because he's very methodical, technical, you know, light on his feet, and is very boxing heavy, can throw kicks, but mainly relies on his boxing. But I think a Clayson Rodriguez, who works real hard in the first 2 rounds and doesn't get Alateng out of there, will slow down a bit in the third, and I think it could open up for a third round TKO. But my favorite play for the fight is going to be Haley Alateng to win by decision. It's at plus 300 on DraftKings, and I think this fight goes to a decision. Like I said, if it's an early finish, it's probably on the Rodriguez side. If it's late, I think it's an attritional finish where Alateng slows down Rodriguez and then just overwhelms him with volume. But Alateng doesn't have a ton of volume, so I think the fight touches the scorecards, but I like Alateng's boxing and overall patience to win him this fight over 15 minutes, mainly in round 2 and round 3. Maybe he drops round 1. So Haley Alateng by decision at plus 300 is going to be my first tip for UFC Vegas 92. Next up, we've got Abus Magomedov against Warlley Alves. I like Magomedov in this spot. Obviously, you have to worry the longer the fight goes, because we know that Magomedov does not have good cardio, but I think this guy gets a bad rap. He won the first round against Sean Strickland in his second to last fight. Won it pretty clearly, hurt Strickland, took him down, was one of the only people to take down Sean Strickland aside from Dricus du Plessis, who took him down in his title-winning performance at UFC 297. But I think Abus Magomedov, they're kind of giving him a Hail Mary here. They're giving him a layup. They're giving him a get-right spot against Warlley Alves. Alves is tough. Alves is very, very strong. He's powerful. He has knockout power. He could easily chin Magomedov in round 1. He could hurt him with a body kick and drop him. We know that Magomedov has quit in him. We know that Warlley Alves isn't really, you know, built to quit, but he has some durability issues where he can get clipped, he can get rocked, you know, he'll try to come back, and sometimes he can, but a lot of the losses that Warlley Alves has, aside from that Nicholas Dalby loss, that they're via TKO, they're by finish. He got knocked out by Jeremiah Wells, you know, he got knocked out by Ikram Aliskerov, but that's not a bad loss considering Ikram is on the track for the championship at 185 pounds, but I think Abus Magomedov is technical enough, he's going to be long and rangy enough, using his reach, using those long-range teeps, front kicks to the body to be able to knock out Warlley Alves. Obviously, round 1, it's going to be tricky. Always a possibility that Warlley lands a big shot and knocks out Magomedov, but I think I have a little bit more faith in the Abus Magomedov side than I do in the Warlley Alves side at this point, based on recent performances. Not by much, but just by a little. But I like Magomedov via KO, TKO. I got the line at plus 125. I think you can get it now at plus 100, minus 110. So it's not as enticing. You know, you want to do it with the plus money. And then I think if you're nervous that maybe Magomedov knocks him down and goes for a submission, even though he hasn't done it in the UFC, he's got some submissions in his career outside of the UFC. So if you want to take Abus Magomedov to win in round 1 or round 2 at minus 140, I think that is a good shot as well. It's under the fight parlays on DraftKings, but Magomedov via KO TKO, I think he does chin Warlley Alves it's plus 125. And then, like I said, if you're worried about the sub, I would take in round 1 or round 2 a finish for Magomedov, because I don't think we get to round 3 regardless of whose hand gets raised in this fight. But give me Magomedov in this one. I like him here. Up next is Tom Nolan against Victor Martinez. I mean, I don't think there's much to say here. We know he lost his last fight to Nicholas Mota, a fight again where he was a huge favorite, and he's about a 5-1 favorite on the money line. I don't think that's right, but I think he gets a style, he gets some style points on the victory here against Martinez. I think Nolan is longer, he's rangier, he's going to use his reach better, and the one thing he doesn't want to do is get on the inside and fight in dirty boxing and clinch and in boxing range. At least on the inside against Martinez, because that's what Martinez reminds me of. He's like a brawling style of a boxer, slip, rip the uppercut, come back with the hook, overhands, uppercut, shots to the body. He has to get on the inside, but against a much longer, taller, rangier fighter, against the fighter who uses his range and uses his reach a lot better, I like Tom Nolan here. My 2 favorite plays are, as you can see on the screen, I like Tom Nolan via KO in round 1 and round 2. It's minus 135, but you're dropping the money line from a minus 500 to a minus 135, basically taking a quarter of the money line for his most realistic path to victory. And then my second play, which is a little bit more risky, is Nolan to win via round 2 KO. I think coming off that knockout loss, he was coming into his UFC debut, he got chinned by Mota. Mota hasn't looked that great in the UFC, which can give some people a little bit of concern going into this fight again with him as a heavy favorite, coming off not just a loss, but a knockout loss against another brawling style, with heavy hands. But I think Nolan might just kind of stay on the outside and pick apart Victor Martinez early, front kicks, teep kicks, 1-2s down the middle, maybe jab the body, and stay on the outside a little bit more and not try to get the finish as early, and maybe we find a way to creep into round 2. So I like Nolan via round 2 KO, which brings the line way better to a plus 490, but obviously it's more risky because you're playing a specific round. But I think there is a possibility where Nolan plays it safe the first round, just kind of picks his shots and sharpshoots, and then once he gets the range, once he gets the timing, he lands that big shot in round 2. The only reason I didn't put round 2 KO at plus 490 as my favorite play is because we've also seen Victor Martinez get TKO'd by Jordan Levitt, who has the punching power of a pillow. I mean, yeah, he knocked out a dude with a slam, when the guy had him in full guard. But other than that, I mean, getting knocked out by Jordan Levitt, it's not a good look, and I think Nolan should be able to rip him apart here. But yeah, those are my 2 favorite plays. Nolan KO 1-2 at minus 135 on FanDuel, and then Nolan via round 2 KO if he plays it a little bit more methodical and safe in round 1 at a plus 490. Up next, it's a case pretty similar to Tom Nolan's, except we've seen more promise and more, upside from Adrian Yanez. And I know it's Yanez, but he's being called Yanez now. So, looking at this one, I mean, Yanez is on a 2-fight skid. He's got to get the job done here against Vinicius Salvador. Salvador is long, he's rangy, he fights with his hands down, and he's a very heavy counter striker. I think there is definitely a possible side of this fight where Yanez tries to rush too early, and then he gets clipped with a big shot with a big counter from Vinicius Salvador and gets KO'd. But I think we're going to see a little bit more of a reserved Yanez, and he's going to make his reads in round 1. He's going to jab, touch the body, land some good combos, but I think Salvador is durable enough to make it into round 2. I thought there was a possibility that Tony Kelly would make it into round 2, and he just got destroyed in the first round, but I think Salvador, with his length, with his reach, with his counter ability, it might make Yanez a little bit more hesitant, and it can get us into round 2. So my favorite play for Adrian Yanez here is going to be Yanez via KO in round 2 and round 3 at a plus 280. Again, you're taking the money line that's like minus 300, minus 400, and you're basically flipping it to 100% profit at a plus 280, almost a 3-1. I think he plays it safe in round 1. He might clip Salvador and hurt him, but I don't think he gets the finish in round 1, and I think we creep into round 2, and I think that's where Yanez puts him away. But I would much rather take round 2 and round 3 than round 1 and round 2, so that's why I decided to go with Yanez via KO round 2-3 here. I think he will find the chin of Salvador, but with the length, with the reach, with the hands low style, with the counter ability, it's going to make him a little bit more hesitant, so I think he finds the KO shot in the second round, so round 2-3. And then again, going off what I said, if you want to just play it strictly round 2, you can get Yanez via KO in round 2 at a plus 500. That's a lot better line than plus 280. I would rather take the plus 280 because it gives you that extra round just in case he doesn't get it in round 2. But if you think it's in round 2 at the plus 500, again, you can't go wrong with a plus 500 on a huge favorite. It's just a little bit more risky if you're parlaying because you don't want to put a specific round and a KO unless you're extremely confident about it. This is a spot where I would actually be pretty confident about a round 2 KO. I would be more confident about a round 2 KO with Yanez than I would be with Tom Nolan because I think Nolan has more of an upside to get it done in round 1. But I mean, even parlaying Tom Nolan round 2 KO, Adrian Yanez KO round 2, I mean, you'll get really good value on that. It's obviously something you'd want to put a little bit of stake on. I'm not recommending it, but again, if you're looking for Hail Mary parlays, that's a pretty good one. But yeah, Yanez via KO 2-3 on FanDuel at plus 280 is my favorite play because I think he plays it a little bit safe in round 1, and then I would take Yanez via KO round 2 at plus 500 if you're feeling a little risque. This is going to be another play that is risky, but I actually like the Carlston Harris side as the underdog a lot more than I like the Chaos Williams side as a favorite. He came in as like a huge favorite again in his last fight against Rolando Bedoya, and honestly, I don't think he won that fight. I think Bedoya outstruck him, he landed the better shots, and I think he won at least 2 out of the 3 rounds. I bet on Chaos Williams via KO that night, so I was not happy about it. But in this spot, I think he obviously has the upside to knock Carlston Harris into another stratosphere in the first round. And Harris can get hit, he can get clipped, and he can get hurt. But a similarity with this fight is the Jeremiah Wells fight. Wells obviously is more heavy with the wrestling, and Chaos Williams is going to come and throw big bombs right away. But I think if you can stay in a fight with Jeremiah Wells, who has big power punching and, you know, huge, heavy one-punch knockout power, it's different with Chaos Williams because I think Chaos Williams is definitely more dangerous than Jeremiah Wells, and he's a little bit more technical with the way he throws his shots, and he definitely has, I believe, more power. So this is a more dangerous fight than the Wells fight, but it's not like Carlston Harris hasn't fought power punchers before. I mean, the guy was in the cage with Shavkat Rakhmonov, got dropped, and then eventually got submitted. But, you know, Carlston Harris can crack. He knocked out the former PFL, you know, season winner and champion in Impa Kasanganay, who just won the PFL championship in the last season against Josh Silveira, I believe. But I like Harris via sub here. I think he's live because he's very long, tall, and rangy. He uses his reach better than Chaos Williams. He might be able to clip him with a big shot and knock him out. But I think if Harris wins this fight, it's mainly by using the path of least resistance and getting Chaos Williams down to the ground and finding a submission. He has very good front chokes as well. You saw him catch Jeremiah Wells in that anaconda choke and choke him out cold, even though it wasn't even fully locked in based on the way it looked like Wells was fighting and pushing his arms down to try to relieve the pressure. But I think Chaos Williams is nowhere near the level of grappler that Jeremiah Wells is, and that's what goes into this pick, because I think Harris maybe could hurt Chaos Williams on the feet if Williams doesn't respect him, and then he could grab a front headlock and go for a guillotine, or go for a darce, or go for an anaconda choke and submit Chaos Williams. I think it's very live for a submission, and when you're giving me sub round 2-3 at plus 950, the first round is going to be hairy for Carlston Harris, no pun intended. But if he can make it out of round 1, I think his chances of a sub go way up. And if he can slow down Chaos Williams and get him to make a panic shot or get him to panic shoot, he can grab that neck and get a sub. So I like Harris via sub round 2-3 at plus 950. He's already an underdog, but plus 950 I think is way off on the number there. And then I think if you want to play it safe, or if you want to get like a Hail Mary play, not so much play it safe, I think you could play Harris sub round 3. He got it against Jeremiah Wells, and maybe I'm being, you know, biased based on his last performance because he got it in round 3 after he was getting dominated. But I think it's another scenario that could play out here where, you know, he loses the first round, gets clipped up, but survives. Second round's closer. Maybe he wins it based on takedowns and control. But then in round 3, I think Harris is going to be live for that sub. I think he will be tired as well, just like I believe Chaos will be tired, but I think he'll have more paths to victory in round 3, being able to use the jiu-jitsu, the front chokes, the takedowns, and setting up submissions from different avenues. So Harris sub 2-3 plus 950, and Harris sub round 3 at plus 2100 are my favorite plays. But Carlston Harris is an underdog coming into the fight already, So if you want to just play the money line, that's not a bad play either. But I'm taking the underdog in Carlston Harris over Chaos Williams here. Up next is going to be Edson Barboza in the main event against Lerone Murphy. I think Barboza is very live here. I played against Barboza with Super Sadiq Yusuff, and Super Sadiq Yusuff by knockout in his last fight in a main event of a UFC fight night in the Apex. Edson Barboza got destroyed in the first 2 rounds. Destroyed, but somehow survived, and then came back to destroy Sadiq Yusuff for the remainder of the fight and win a decision after going into round 2 where he was plus 700, plus 800 on the money line after how bad he got destroyed in round 1. The biggest difference between Sadiq Yusuff and Lerone Murphy is that I think Sadiq Yusuff has much more power than Lerone Murphy, and I don't think that that's, anything to write home about or anything to be shocked about. I think Barboza is going to have better cardio over the 5 rounds. We've seen Barboza go 5 rounds before, and if he can survive and go 5 rounds against Super Sadiq Yusuff where he got destroyed, hurt, wobbled, dropped, and just mangled early on and still come back and have the cardio to compete, I think he should be able to do it here against Lerone Murphy. Lerone Murphy's looked good in his UFC career. I have yet to pick against Lerone Murphy in his UFC career until now, but I just think that this stylistic matchup is not a good one for Lerone. I don't think Lerone's going to be able to execute heavy wrestling and hold down Barboza for multiple rounds. I don't think Lerone Murphy's going to have a cardio advantage going into round 3, round 4, and round 5 if we get there. I think he's going to be at a speed disadvantage on the feet. I think he's going to be at a power disadvantage on the feet. And I think the only way Lerone Murphy wins this fight is either clipping Barboza with a big shot on a counter or point fighting his way to a decision. And I don't think he's going to be able to point fight for 25 minutes against a guy who's as fast, as explosive, has as much fast twitch muscle fiber and powers in his kicks like Edson Barboza. I think Barboza is going to have the advantage basically everywhere the fight goes except in the wrestling, but Barboza is not easy to take down. He's easier to hold down, I think, than to take down, but getting the takedowns in the first place is a very difficult task. It's just like Jose Aldo. Very difficult to take him down. Aldo has better takedown defense, but the comparison that I'm making there. I like Barboza to find a finish here. I think playing KO round 2, 3, 4 on FanDuel at plus 500 is a very, very solid pick because I don't think it happens in round 1. I think if anything, Barboza kind of gets beat up in round 1 or it's a close first round, but I like Barboza KO 2, 3, 4 at plus 500. And then I also think that's worth taking a sprinkle on Barboza by decision because I think he's live to win a decision over 25 minutes. Even if he doesn't find the KO, he's probably going to have the more impactful moments. He's probably going to have the bigger moments, and I think he's probably going to do more damage over 25 minutes than the Miracle in Lerone Murphy, or Lerone the Miracle Murphy. So I think a stab at Barboza via decision, if you think it makes it to the scorecards, is a decent play. But I think Barboza TKO 2, 3, 4 at plus 500 is my favorite play because I think he has the advantages almost everywhere, and he's going to be faster, more powerful, more experienced, and I think Barboza is just a clear side here. I wouldn't be surprised if Murphy won this fight via decision or was able to find a late finish, but I think Barboza's the side here. So Barboza TKO 2, 3, 4 at plus 500, and then if you don't think there's a finish, then Barboza via decision at plus 490 is also a solid play for the main event. And for the last play for the video, I'm going to include Angela Hill to win in round 3 at plus 2400. Look, I know she got dropped multiple times by Mackenzie Dern, and Mackenzie Dern has literally the worst striking in the women's division, or some of the worst striking in the women's divisions. But I think against Luana Pinheiro, if she can survive the first 7.5, 8 minutes, it's Angela Hill's fight to win. Pinheiro has good power. She can rock you, she can hurt you, she can finish you. But if she doesn't get you out of there early with those big overhands, the looping hooks, the big uppercuts, and the wide looping powerful punches, I think she's going to slow down. And I think Hill, with her forward pressure, her technical prowess, her very solid Muay Thai, and her ability to put combinations together and put the volume on a fighter like Luana Pinheiro, I think Angela Hill has is viable to drown Luana Pinheiro in this fight. I think it would happen more than likely in round 3, kind of like the Mateus Rombeski and Diego Ferreira fight in round 3. I think it could play out very similar to that, to where Hill's getting beat up, destroyed, getting hurt, getting cut in round 1, Do the same in round 2, but you see Pinheiro start to slow down. Hill starts to land combinations, starts to move forward more, and you see Pinheiro take some big deep breaths. And then in round 3, you see Hill just kind of put that foot on the gas pedal and push forward and try to get a finish. I think that's what happens. I think we see Hill get a TKO or a submission after she drops her ground and pound, maybe locks up a rear naked choke in round 3. It's obviously not my most confident play, which is why I put it at the end, but I think you'd be a fool to not sprinkle Angela Hill to win in round 3 at plus 2,400. I mean, $10 will pay you out 240. I think it's worth a sprinkle. Even $5 for 120. It's worth a shot, you know, taking the shot on Angela Hill, who is a veteran, who has gone 15 minutes multiple times, and who has never been finished in her career, even going up against the likes of Amanda Lemos. So give me Hill to win in round 3 at plus 2,400. And that's going to be the last play for my favorite bets for UFC Vegas 92. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, smash the notification bell with a spinning back elbow, and let's cash these tickets for UFC Vegas 92 on Saturday night.